Good morning, YouTube. Well, this is now I don't even remember now. I think we're day 4, day 5 now, somewhere. Forever deep in this, though. Wow, what a absolute cluster. Yeah, this is definitely not recommended to do on the ground. Um, we are finishing up this header install. Nearly got it all put back together. Upper plenum's back on. Passenger side exhaust, that all bolted up beautifully, no issues. We didn't have to do very much. There was a little bit of hammering that ended up taking place. And where that was on the very forward part of the manifold. I believe it was actually the second pipe back, but it actually was fairly close to the engine mount. Very easy. Once you go to install the manifold, you'll see exactly where you need to ding it in. And this side didn't take nearly as much as the driver's side one did. The driver's side took so much, in fact, it completely rotated and twisted the upper flange, as I have seen in a number of other YouTube videos of poor, unfortunate people that have had to do this. It is not pretty. It is not fun. I mean, buy the quality headers. Might get us something that's a little bit better of a product. We'll see how well it holds up. There was quite a bit of banging, quite a bit of dinging. I'm hoping I didn't crack that stainless weld, or there's going to be trouble there. But either way, I ended up having to cut the Y pipe, which I really didn't want to do, but because I'd bent it so bad, banging right there, that nut is actually rotated about 15 or 20 degrees. So basically that nut should be a full nut to the right, and it is a full nut to the left, if that makes any sense at all. So basically, we had to cut the Y pipe off. I'll show you where I ended up having to do that. I got the passenger side hooked up, so I knew that the Y pipe would at least be where it wanted to be, and then try to level it as best as I could from there. We are up only on one jack stand, though. And as you can see, that is where everything ended up. Now, I do have a little bit of play that I should. Now, mind you, this is the catalytic converter. I do still have the factory exhaust. If you have an aftermarket Y pipe that bolted up perfectly to the factory exhaust, it is no longer going to perfectly bolt up with these cheap headers, which is kind of makes this a pain in the butt. But you can see that I'm nowhere even near lined up. It might look somewhat decent, but these two pipes actually need to go like this. There, now it's lined up. To show you how much it's got to move. This is a flex pipe, but I don't want to kind of waste all that flex immediately and have a pressure bound up on it. So we're going to have to get creative here. I might have to end up taking it off all the way back to here and then using some Ys to bring all this back together. But I'm realizing, looking at this might be 2 1/4 inch exhaust, or 2 inch maybe. I don't know. This is factory, by the way, but I will get a tape measure on this, figure out what size this is. Hopefully I have the right size exhaust pipe to build this, or I might end up having to get creative and building some bells out to try to get this over. The good news is I do have a welder and I do have the tools to put this together, but it's an unnecessary evil that I shouldn't have had to have done if I would have just spent a little bit more money instead of spending all that money. I've spent all my free time modifying shit to make cheap shit fit, so sometimes it's better just to buy the better product, but this is what we ended up having to do. And right here on the Y pipe, there are actually 2 heat shields, which I have probably kicked and tossed and thrown somewhere in a deep dark hole, that are now gone. You can see them over there on the passenger side, right there. But it has a heat shield, an upper and a lower, that is tacked on directly in the middle. And so as you can see, I took a grinder, an angle grinder, which is very dangerous because I'm like 3 inches off the ground. If that blade blows up, it's only going to go 2 directions, that way and directly back towards you. So make sure you have a face shield, preferably a leather jacket, like a welding jacket, something that's going to kind of catch some flak and some sparks, because yeah, fireballs, good times. But this is where we're at. We're nearly wrapped up. I just can't say enough how much you really need to just spend the extra money and get the better headers. But it's all coming together. And maybe this will convince you to maybe start with Y pipes and instead of headers for your first exhaust mods, especially if you're on something of a budget, just because, yeah, this has been quite the cluster, quite the fight. I think if I ever do headers or on my own Infinitis or my own Z's, I will more than likely only install them when the engine is out, just to make life a little bit easier, because that is quite the fight. But have a good day, you guys. Hopefully you are smart enough to buy better headers.